Hi there, and welcome to the first and hopefully only episode of I'm Not Drunk, You're Drunk History. Cheers. In today's episode, we're going to talk about former San Francisco Mayor James Rolph, also known as Sunny Jim, San Francisco's longest serving mayor from 1912 all the way through 1931. That is it's like 19 years. It's a long time. So Mayor Rolph, which by the way, can we just take a minute and appreciate what a great name that is? Rolph. Mayor Rolph. Anyway, Mayor Rolph was in charge during the Spanish flu of 1918, the last pandemic we saw in San Francisco. Which, fun fact, Spanish flu is actually called Spanish flu, not because the flu actually originated in Spain. It did not. So the outbreak happened during World War I, and Spain was neutral during the war, so they actually reported all of their cases. So it looked like Spain just had like this huge outbreak compared to everybody else, because nobody else was reporting all of their outbreaks, because they were like, oh, we don't want the other side to know. So then everybody was like, oh, well, Spain, that like sucks for them. So they got a pandemic named after them. So just go to show you, actual consequences of fake news. So this particular pandemic made its way to San Francisco in like September of 1918. By the middle of October, it was pretty out of control. So, of course, what do we all know works great in a pandemic? Say it with me, social distancing. Of course, they closed down all the public and private schools, banned all dancing, nobody could go to the movies. Everybody, you can like have your dance party in your living room, but like keep that shit to yourself. So, like a week later, they pass an ordinance requiring everybody to wear a mask in public. And you're like, what year is this again? 1918? 2020? My, but how far we've come. But of course, all the social distancing and mask wearing, seems to be working. So by the end of November, the city's like, oh, we can probably lift all these restrictions. And people were once again free to gather and move about the city. Hashtag rookie mistake. Of course, as we all know, the virus came back in January, bigger and badder than ever. The city tried to reinstate the mask wearing, but of course, there were protests because this is San Francisco. We love a good protest. I never met a protest I didn't like. So let's not forget, the man was mayor for like 19 years. And a lot of things happened during those 19 years. I mean, besides the Spanish flu, you had World War I, you had Prohibition, you had the Great Depression. But let's back up for a second and talk about Prohibition. And I really mean just a second. Because, like, in San Francisco, Prohibition? What's that? Like, Mayor Sunny Jim was a total party animal. Prohibition was like not a real thing in San Francisco. We may or may not have been like the wettest city in the country, potentially rivaled by New York. But either way, a tradition that we all hope to continue. I get the feeling that Mayor Rolfe probably would have continued to be Mayor Rolfe long after 1931 if he hadn't become Governor Rolfe instead. Turns out being governor of California is a little bit more of a serious job than mayor of San Francisco. Don't tell anybody I said that. But he died of a heart attack in office 3 years later in 1934. So, cheers to you, Sunny Jim, Mayor Rolfe, 30th mayor of San Francisco, longest serving mayor of San Francisco. Never stop partying.